Hello everyone. I just wanted to make a quick video about something super important. By the way, I posted this morning the first video in my little mini series about a deeper look into the plagues of Egypt. So go watch that one. It wasn't technically about the plagues of Egypt. It was about when Moses's staff turns into a snake. But super important. So go watch that. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something that happened to me this week. So I talked about, I think on here before, the app called Hallow. It's Hallow. And what it is it's a Catholic prayer app, kinds of modeled after the pagan Eastern mysticism app of Headspace. And instead, it is Catholic. So there's, instead of meditating in the pagan way, you meditate in the prayerful way. And I've really found it to be helpful. It's Father Mike Smith of, I don't know how to say his name, of Ascension Presents is on there. And there's a bunch of other ones. So check it out. There's a free trial, and then it's actually one of the only apps I've ever bought. I think I have the 1-year subscription. But they recently posted a series, a mental health series. And so me being me, I got a lot of issues over here. I started using that, and I have found it to be so helpful. It's these prayers written by psychologists in conjunction with theologians and holy people. There's a nun who reads it and things like that. And so in one of them, I think it's the second one in the list, she talks about, imagining yourself standing next to Jesus and taking out from your heart whatever is weighing you down. So any kind of unforgiveness or any kind of hurt and resentment and things like this, and giving it to Jesus. And so it was so helpful for me to do this because I was really able to see there's been things that I thought I have forgiven, that I've been finding myself a little bit bitter over. And so I wanted to maybe not go so far as therapy, but do some prayerful meditation on this and bring this to the Lord. And what I discovered during this process was not what I expected. And so this exercise, you present it to the Lord with the idea of him taking it from you and transforming it and healing you, and you letting it go. And so for me, what I discovered was my inability, this resentment and this bitterness was not coming from, I wanted to forgive and things like this, but what it was coming from was weirdly, super weird. I didn't want to give this particular thing to Jesus because I didn't want it to hurt him. And that sounds really ridiculous, right? It sounds so ridiculous, but this was my problem. And so I'm like, this hurt me so bad that I didn't want anybody else, not even God, to have this pain. And it sounds totally illogical because we meditate on the passion and all this, but for some reason it was blocking me. It was like I wanted to protect Jesus from feeling this pain, and I would not release it. I wouldn't do it. And no matter how many times I did this prayer, I wouldn't do it. So I finally just had to just pray about it. Like, I don't know how to give this to you. And sometimes we find that it's not from a lack of desire, but it's just like, I don't want to give this to you because I don't want it to hurt you, I guess was my problem. But also, like, I don't know how to give this to you. I don't know how to be okay with giving this to you because I don't want it to hurt you as much as it hurts me. And so what fixed me, what enabled me to start this process of giving it to Jesus was Mass. So after going through this process and meditating on this, the next day I went to Mass, the next morning I went to Mass, morning Mass, and Jesus gave me the grace, this Holy Spirit gave me the grace during Mass to see how absurd I was being. And it was during the consecration. And I just had this overwhelming grace, this overwhelming knowing, this overwhelming illumination that Jesus came here and allowed himself to be killed. There's nothing that I'm going to give him that he hasn't already been hurt from, sort of thing. And he came here to be able to heal us from this stuff, to take this stuff from us. He literally gave up his life so that we could spend eternity with him, so that he could heal us here, so we could start the healing process here, so that we could spend eternity with him. And what I came to realize was, by not giving this to him, it was almost like I was offending him and making his passion in vain. And that was so horrifying. That is what led me to be able to release it. So I just wanted to share that. If there's somebody else out there, and if you're having some trouble forgiving or surrendering a certain situation to God, and the craziest thing was, I thought I had surrendered it. I gave it to him, I guess maybe not on a deep enough level though. But I do, I would say, Jesus, I can't do this. Take this from me, sort of thing, but not on a deep level. So when you go step by step through this process of, imagining yourself next to Jesus, physically taking it from you and giving it to him, that's where I noticed I had a holdup. I could not visually do this. I refused. I was blocking myself from doing it. And I'm like, why? So in that moment of not giving it to him, I'm like, why? What is wrong? Why am I doing this? And what it really came down to for me was that this was such an overwhelming pain that I didn't want Jesus to be hurt by it. And that sounds crazy, I know, but that's what was going on deep inside of me. So I'm just sharing this. Number one, to give a shout out to Hallow. Super helpful prayers. Number two, to just, if there's somebody else and you're struggling with unforgiveness or resentment or something like that, think about why you're not releasing it to Jesus. And maybe that's not what it is, but if it is what it is, I can tell you that by not releasing it to Jesus, you're insulting him, and in a way making his passion in vain. So don't be me. He wants to heal us. And by healing, I don't mean take all the negative feelings away. That's not what I mean. I mean, unforgiveness blocks him from being able to use us fully. That's what I mean. So by releasing it to him, maybe some of the feelings will still be there, but he will be able to use it. He will be able to work within you better. And I was blocking him in this way. So I'm just sharing that. Hopefully it'll help someone else. Probably didn't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe you have to be in my head for it to make sense. But maybe if you download Hallow, you'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, have a good night. Joan of Arc Media out.